Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome to another edition of the Box Seats with Alex B. Smith and Bob Sullivan here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. If you'd like to call in and join the conversation, the call-in number is 585-633-7487. Alex, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. It's been a lot of action in sports today. We got the NBA starting up, NHL action. We got the game one of the World Series. We're going to get ready for some football stuff. So, November right around the corner, and this is one of the craziest months of the sports calendar.
Yeah, it's fun to see all the sports, big moments at one time. NFL's midseason, first game of NBA, the end of the baseball season. This and May, I would say, are the two best sports months of the year.
I like September though. September because September's got the big bulk of baseball, you got the start of football, and you kind of just got like the little bit of the buzz with hockey and some other things starting up with training camp. I think September is one of my personal favorite months for sports, but November's a good one. March is a great one, obviously, with March Madness and stuff. There's some pretty good months in sports, and there's some bad ones too, like July. But
well, this week in the NFL, did you think Todd Bowles was Did you think he was aware of the spread when he was kicking that field goal against the Patriots?
People always wonder that with coaches. I really don't. No, I don't think so. I'm not sure what some of these coaches think. When they make some of these moves late in games. But I don't think he had any idea about what the spread was. But that was an interesting result for the books because that game closed at 7. So if you got in there really late, you pushed. So all the early money that came in on the Jets, they cashed in those tickets. That's why it's super important to bet the NFL and even college football, in my opinion. You got to bet it middle of the week. I can't remember the last time I waited till Saturday or Sunday to place a bet on a game because it's just the numbers. The early sharp money is going to come in the middle of the week. And yeah, maybe if it's a spot where you want to wait for the public money to flood in late and move a number, sure. But if you do your homework, you got a solid opinion. More often than not, it's better to jump in early around, between a Tuesday and Thursday for a weekend game.
Yeah, it was, not accusing Todd Bowles, but it was just funny to me,
Sure.
with 9.5, even there was some 7.5. Yeah, I got down to 7 by Sunday morning. Yeah, it's funny to me with, them kicking the field. You don't always see it work. And it almost kind of like if, they would have had a shot at a Hail Mary there if Brandon Marshall doesn't screw up at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you don't really see it work too often where they take the field goal with like 25, 30 seconds left and they still need a touchdown, go through the onside kick. Very rarely does that work. But they almost had a shot at the Hail Mary if Brandon Marshall doesn't, false start on that. They would have 1 second left for a Hail Mary. Who knows what happens on that play?
Right,
would have been a very interesting finish there.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it just shows you, the Patriots. It's you're good at 6-0, but you have to have some luck now going ahead to stay within being perfect now at this time of year. So Jets, that's a tough team, and they always play the Patriots tough. Patriots got away with the victory, so they stay perfect at 6-0. So now we'll see what happens moving forward.
What do you make of the Panthers right now? Right now, coming off undefeated, 2 wins that are people are starting to talk, okay, maybe this team is legit with beating Seahawks and the Eagles. But the Seahawks, they're flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles are even more flawed. Are you buying into them any more right now than you were or weren't, 2 weeks ago?
I'm not buying into them more, but I'm not downing them as I said a couple weeks ago in here that I thought they were the weakest undefeated team right around with Denver. I think I moved them ahead of Denver as far as the remaining unbeaten's. I'm more impressed by the Eagle win than the Seahawks win, to be honest. Yeah, both teams are flawed, but it's just never easy to game plan against Chip Kelly. And so for their defense to come out and hold the Eagles to only 16 points, that's a pretty impressive feat on a Sunday night. So, now we get to see, it's an even bigger test at home. They get in the Colts Monday night. So it should be interesting. If they can beat the Colts at home on a Monday night as decisive as they did against Philly, then I think we have to start buying into them. And, then you look ahead, the next week they play the Packers at home. And that's the thing. They're getting these decent teams at home, and then you look at the rest of the schedule. They got a pretty easy, even the road games they have. The toughest game they have looking ahead after the Packers is against the Falcons, and that won't be until middle of December. So yeah, you got to buy into them slightly, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose this week against the Colts, and I definitely don't see them winning against the Packers in a couple weeks.
With looking at the Colts, that they needed to beat New Orleans. Granted, they're in a terrible division, but your next three games involve Carolina and Denver, and there's another tough one in there. I can't remember what the other one was. But you look at the Colts. Are you more concerned about Andrew? Do you think it's Andrew Luck's health, or that he's been making poor decisions his entire career?
Yeah.
He makes bad decisions regularly, but more often than not, he'll bail you out. He's not getting bailed out. He's not bailing himself or his team out. It's a little bit more talented, skill set wise, but the offensive line is still a struggle. Defense is not great. And now his mistakes are more costly than ever. Do you think it's health wise, or do you think he was just never, he's just doing the same things he's doing? It's just finally they're adding up to losses.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, you can kind of see his body language just isn't the same in recent years, and so that you attest that to his health. But as far as like I said, you have a bad offensive line. You could have the best quarterback in the world, and it's still not going to. You still have to have those guys in front of you working hard. So that's going to bring trouble to any team. And like I said, then you're rushed when you have the line break down in front of you, so you make poor decisions. With the football. So like I said, they got a tough road ahead of them. Panthers on a Monday night on the road, then they go play Denver at home. We know how tough their defense is. Then they get the bye week, and then they have to go out to Atlanta, play the Falcons. So that's a real tough stretch of 3 games in 4 weeks, and all against quality defenses. So now we're going to really see how we're going to answer the question that you just asked of whether it's just luck, it's his health, or is this just poor performance, because he's going to be truly tested in the next 3 games.
Looking at them, they're kind of in a bad position because they're probably going to make the playoffs with how bad that division is.
Yeah.
But is there really any benefit to them making the playoffs? Like if they go into the playoffs like 7-9 or something, that doesn't really get them anywhere. They're going to get blown out. They're not going to get better in the draft. What do you do if you're Indianapolis? Like, I feel like they're in a bad spot right now as far as talent wise, and they're in a bad division, so they can't really bottom out in that division.
Well, you get into the playoffs at 7-9, you're still in the playoffs, and if you can turn it around and win 3 straight games, then there you are in the Super Bowl. So, you can't just completely count them out if they do make the postseason. Granted, I don't think anybody is expecting them to, be a contender just because they're in the postseason. But you can't, you just can't count them out completely. It is tough because if they go to the playoffs and they lose, 7-10 season, they're going to be in the middle of the pack for the draft. And they're going to have to spend some money to rebuild. They're not going to be able to really pick up anything, of substance, in the middle of the, first round or And I don't know how many picks they have exactly, so it's something you have to look at and take into consideration as well. So yeah, it is a tough spot, but so I mean, maybe if we see them lose a couple more games, they'll just decide to rest Luck and start Hasselbeck and kind of tank out the rest of the year so they can get a better draft spot because they're like, well, you know, like I said, it ends up being to a point where a team 7-9, 8-8 wins this division more than likely. And then who knows if the Texans heat up and make a run or the Titans or whatever. I mean the division's so bad it pretty much is up for grabs if the Colts start to lose more games because it would only take 7 wins, so it's almost a race for who. It's odd because it's not like when the NFC East had a 7-win 8-win team win their division and they were all just beating each other up. Now it's just these teams are so bad it's
Yeah.
it's just who rises to the top at the end of the season. So it's a real awkward spot for all 4 of the teams, honestly, in the AFC South. And you look at the Jaguars, yeah, they'll finish last, but they've been drafting so poorly, it doesn't even matter, for them to tank out. If anything, they should be playing hard and trying to win games because they're going to struggle regardless. The Colts, they still have some talented pieces. And yeah, if they don't get a great draft pick or whatever, they can still finagle things around in the offseason. And they'll have easier time picking up free agents than a Jacksonville or Tennessee, in my opinion. So they are the best of the worst right now in that AFC South.
Yeah, they're the cream of the crap is what they are.
Yeah.
Looking at Miami, the way Dan Campbell's come in, kind of, is he going to be an X's and O's guy? Probably not. Is he going to be, I think he's just instilled kind of, was Philbin a good X's and O's? Whatever he was, you don't look over to the sideline and think, man, I'm confident with that guy leading us. There's a lot of coaches in the NFL that like that. I mean, Norv Turner, when he was coaching, there's just a lot of coaches like that. I mean, you down the line, Scott Linehan, Bill Callahan, people like that.
Sure.
But you look at Dan Campbell, and he's a big guy. He once played in the NFL, and he's not scared of anybody on his team or other teams.
Sure.
Do you think with that change of just with these players looking over at the sideline that there's going to be accountability, that maybe it's worth taking a look at some Miami lines, like New England's favored by 8 right now. I'd be more inclined to take New England to beat Miami by more than 8 points right now, just not because I don't believe in what Dan Campbell's doing, but because it's 2 games. The third game usually is the telling tale, and I would say New England's going to come out and send a message to Miami at home in this game.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you look at the spot, like you said, the last 2 games they played, they had the fortune of playing at the Titans and then having the Texans at home, and they ran away with both of those contests. But Dan Campbell what he's done, he's simplified everything pretty much. He's let's just go out and play to all of our highest talents right now. And the defense has been effective. He's brought an energy to the team that we didn't see from Philbin. So, looking down the road, there is some value with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will finish strong and be able to beat some of the weaker teams they face. The issue is they don't play a whole lot of incredibly weak teams down the stretch. They go to Thursday, short week at New England, which is probably, I guess that's really the best way to play New England on the road is to try and catch them with a short week. If that was a Sunday or a Monday night game, I think we'd see a higher line than 8. And that line will move up before kickoff. That'll probably close at around 10, in my opinion. We're going to see a flood of Patriots money come in on that. But and I would look toward playing the Patriots too, because I'm right there with you. He said the third game is truly going to be the true litmus test, and then they have to go back on the road and play the best team in the NFL right now. So they're going to be a motivated group throughout the rest of the year, I feel. But this is not a good spot for Miami this week.
Moving into college football here, looking at Baylor, number 2 team in the country, and Russell, one of the better quarterbacks in college football right now, running and passing wise, breaks a bone in his neck. And, when I saw the initial report and it said timetable for return is unknown, I would have said, I would guarantee he's out for the season,
Yeah.
And now,
Sure.
there's a chance he might make it back for a bowl game, which I still find that incredible that that's even possible. But Baylor's chances of staying undefeated without Russell, where do you stand right now with Baylor?
Well, I mean, it is going to be tough. When you look ahead, I mean, they got to go to Manhattan the next game against, play Kansas State. Then they have Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas to wrap up the year. That's a really tough schedule. The toughest they've had all year, and now they're losing their top quarterback. They've got some good depth. Their backup was solid in relief against that game, but it was against Iowa State. So, they have to rely now on their running game, and some receivers are gonna have to really step up and help out. The backup, I'm blanking on this kid's name, the backup that came in this game when Russell went out. Like I said, it's gonna be tough for Baylor regardless, even with Russell being healthy, because of now, like I said, they've got to keep pace with TCU. They lose one game or they start looking, sluggish, even in a victory, they'll start slipping down. We're going to see a lot of, back and forth with the top four, and the top 10 as a whole, poll wise. So there's more pressure on them now than ever because they don't have their leader quarterback in Russell.
It's funny to me with Baylor, with RG3, Bryce Petty, Russell. I mean, you look at these guys, and it's almost like after RG3, they'll kind of come back to the pack. With Petty, after Petty, they'll kind of come back to the pack. But it just seems like each quarterback's better than the next, and I mean, maybe not better, but just as good as the previous one. And looking at who win it. Without Russell, I would normally say, they'll fall off, but we've said that with the last two. They keep, sustaining their success, and I know losing a dual threat guy like that is tough, but I kind of think it's the system that they run, that whoever they have, they recruited him for a reason because they can run the system.
Sure.
And, as long as they're calling the right, as long as Briles is calling the right plays, I think they'll be just fine. I think it's more, no offense to RG3 or Bryce Petty, but it's the system, not the quarterback, that makes this successful.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. And those are two perfect examples of it being the system, because look at how they've panned out so far in the NFL. RG3, granted, I believe, RG3's issues now were solely related to his injury. I think that really changed him mentally as the quarterback. But looking at Bryce Petty this past preseason with the Jets, he was god awful. And so it proved that it's a system, and I looked at Jarrett Stidham as the true freshman quarterback who's going to be starting for the Baylor Bears. That's a tough spot, to take over a team as a true freshman. But at the same time, you look at, Cardale Jones did it last year in the big stage. So maybe, this kid, he's a Texas kid, he can, step up and shoulder the load, at a critical moment. But like I said, it is going to be something to watch out for. And, with the high numbers that Baylor's laying from a point spread perspective, I wasn't playing any of their games before. Certainly wouldn't be playing them now. Because like I said, it's just a really rough spot, and they are, I can't any of these games where they're going to be laying, you will be seeing more reasonable spreads with them down the stretch because they're playing tougher quality opponents. But it's going to be really, really tough. So definitely something to circle and watch down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. Well, with looking at the in the Big Ten, the Michigan State does not plan on practicing this week. They plan on lifting weights and running and conditioning, and then they'll practice next week to get ready for Nebraska. Should Nebraska fans just give up as far as rooting for their team when it's gotten to the point where a team's not even practicing during their bye week for getting ready for them after the bye week.
I mean, it's really tough. Nebraska just had it. Just you talk about a bad luck ball club. I mean, if you look at the Miami loss that came down to the field goal, the Illinois and Wisconsin losses were final drives. They played Northwestern this past week was a close loss. It's just a lot of bad luck for Nebraska this year. So yeah, as far as this season goes, it's pretty much a wash. I mean, sure they could, they got Purdue coming up this week. Then after Michigan State, they have Rutgers and Iowa. So it's going to take a miracle for them to get 3 more wins to be bowl eligible. But they'll be the way I see it, they'll be 6-7 and 6 and you got to win 7 bowl eligible. Yes, 6 games will get you there, but there's so many teams that have been 6-6 or 6-7 to fall out because of the number of bowl games and the number of teams. So Nebraska more than likely will be on the outside looking in if they were to get to that spot. But yeah, they'll have to just kind of rebuild for next year. But as far as Michigan State goes, it's nice for them to have the break in between to like I said, work on conditioning and get ready for this heavy bulk of big games coming up down the stretch. So I don't think it's more of a disrespect thing. I don't think that Michigan State's coming out saying that because we got Nebraska, it's a cakewalk. But it's more of just that this is just what we're gonna do because we think this is the best thing to do right now for our program moving forward because of how tough the remaining schedule is.
Last thing before we go to break, JT Barrett is now starting for Ohio State. What do you make of this? Do you think this is the right move for them, at least until postseason play?
Yeah, no, I do think this is the best move for them. They look the offense is a lot more dynamic under Barrett. Barrett gives more of a rapid dual fire, dual threat strategy, and the fact that you look at how dominant they've been in the red zone too. I mean, if this team's within the 20-25 yard line, they're getting in the end zone. It's plain and simple. So I'm not, writing off Cardale Jones as just it was a flash in the pan, deal last season. I think he does have some tremendous talent, but I just think right now the way that Ohio State's offense is clicking, I just think Barrett's the better option right now. Like we said all year, it's a embarrassment of riches if you will for Urban Meyer. It's nice to have that balance of this quarterback's not playing well, we can go to this guy, and so it's a good spot for Ohio State still. It's no need to panic, even though they haven't been covering the number, even though everybody's saying that they're kind of a fraud, number 1 team, but they're still winning games. That's all that matters right now. It's not, and that's why it's hard to bet on them. Definitely not laying any of these high numbers with Ohio State, but it's not about how you win. It's just win, just win. So Ohio State, they don't have anything to worry about with Barrett. I think Barrett's the better option. And I think their offense is going to, keep on rolling, granted that he stays healthy.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here on the box seats with Alex B. Smith and Bob Sullivan here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. When we come back, we'll be talking about week 8 spreads in the NFL, week 9 spreads in college football. I believe that's where we're at in the season. So we'll be talking about those when we come back here on the box seats.
my life would be terribly nice. With my poison pill, I don't really care if you love me or my heart at last. I don't really care if you need me. I should leave you fast. I should leave you I don't really care if you love me or my heart at last. I don't really care if you need me. I should leave you fast. I should leave you fast, 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 fast. I should leave you fast.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Box Seats with Alex B. Smith and Bob Sullivan here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. If you'd like to call in, phone number is 585-633-7487. Alex, NBA starting up tonight. There's, the favorites, Cavs, Spurs, Warriors, Thunder. I don't think, I guess the Clippers could sneak in there, but anything else, I feel like betting anything other than those 5 teams is a waste of money at this point. How are you going to go about betting NBA this year?
Well, I had a good friend text me this morning, and he goes, he says, "Oh, you got to be excited about the NBA season, right?" And I go, "That's the sport with the orange ball, isn't it?" I was messing with him because he knows that basketball is pretty low on my radar as far as betting goes. It's gotten lower over the years. I used to love betting the NBA. I did really well in totals and first halves over the last several years, and now I just kind of simplified everything to betting first halves. Looking for scheduling spots. You have a lot of 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 5 nights. So those are things that I isolate, but I only have a handful of NBA bets within the month. I'd never bet anything really early. I like to wait and see things settle out, see how these new players adapt to, the minutes and see the rotation minutes and so forth. And, you got teams like the Bulls breaking in a new coach with Hoiberg, and, you got Cleveland came out and pretty much said, we're going to be a work in progress to start off the season. They've got some things to work on. And you got LeBron, he's going to sit out some games because he's had this back issue, throughout the offseason. And that's the weird thing about the NBA now. You have the Cavaliers and Spurs, these great teams that will just literally take a night off. Popovich will go and sit all of his starters, in a game, and rest them. And it creates a lot of chaos with the lines for sure. I mean, it's not like with football where you'll see a giant move just swing one way or the other. With the NBA, I mean, books will just take the whole game down and then post it back up with a brand new number. So it's really hard to try and catch that. Back in the day, you get some information like that, and you still had time to jump on and make a bet with the best of the number before they pulled it or moved it. Now with the internet, everything's so rapid fire. As soon as it hits Twitter, there's a sports book manager that's on, every sportsbook manager in the world's on Twitter. They see that information, they pull a game down, they'll put it up with the brand new number an hour later. So it's the NBA has become very tough to bet. I think it's the toughest sport to bet. And so I go at it with a fine tooth comb, and I just kind of look for isolated spots within the first half's games.
Yeah, I love NBA, but it just gets to be, it's too difficult for me to bet. And, I watch a lot of games, but, you just don't know what team's going to show up in a given night. The whole Donaghy thing has made me a little iffy on ever betting NBA too much because of, it's pretty clear, I guess there's no Allen Iversons anymore, but, the relationships between players and referees does play a factor, more so in the NBA, in my opinion, than it does in any other sport. Between, the official player relationship is more there than anything. And that kind of concerns me. But, looking at a guy like Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, what do you think it is with him? Obviously, it's money driven, but what do you think it is other than money to have him going and trying to push legalizing sports gambling?
Well, yeah. Other than money, I think it's more of he realizes the potential of the product he has, and from a fan standpoint, like you said, he's trying to capture the people like me who have become somewhat disillusioned with the NBA. I mean, as a sport, I rarely watch it. From a fan perspective, I follow my Bulls. I'll watch a game during the playoffs. I'll watch a lot more in the finals. But he wants to capture he has the hardcore fan base, and there's a lot of casual NBA fans as well. But he wants to try and he wants to bring the NBA to the level of the NFL, where he wants to have people turn into the Thursday night TNT game the way we turn to the Thursday night CBS game in the NFL. And so whatever you can do to capture those random fans more often than not, you go with that marketing angle. And I think so, like he said, he's seen games in Europe where people are betting on their phones, and then they have some really hardcore fans in a lot of these European countries, Greece and Turkey and Russia and Italy. So he sees the correlation there, and he wants to tap into that market, and like I said, if it puts it, a few extra $1 million in the pocket to, the NBA offices, then so be it. The more the merrier. So that Adam Silver is pushing for the legalization and the not only just of sports betting, but even he kind of said with daily fantasy sports, the regulation of daily fantasy sports, he supports that as well. And so I like his outward thinking. I wish that all the commissioners were, as open-minded with sports gambling, but just not even just from the gambling aspect, but just expanding your brand. Gary Bettman could take a lot of notes from Adam Silver, or Gary Bettman could really just step down as the commissioner of the National Hockey League too. That's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, it would be nice to have the guys that are running these organizations be open-minded to the future, other than just looking at dollars and cents, but as you're looking at keeping your product fresh. I think the NFL does a really bad job of this as well. The NFL has gotten really stale to me as a fan. And a lot of other people who I've talked to, I know a lot of people who just bet the games, but if they don't have any action, they're not watching it. I can't remember the last time I watched a Thursday night NFL game. I haven't had money on one all year, and it's just yeah. So he's trying to tap into a market of casual fans, bringing more of them in and keeping his product fresh. So I support him 100%.
I tweeted about this on Sunday. The NFL is terrible. This year is terrible as far as the NFL goes. There's so many bad teams. I mean, look at there was a stat with ESPN, something like it was the fewest number of teams over 500 since I don't know, since it had been a while since the last time there was this few teams over 500, and there's like 11. And you look around, Detroit is terrible. Kansas City is awful, and that's a game being sent over to London.
Yep.
Minnesota's not that good. Chicago's awful. Tampa Bay's bad. New Orleans is bad. The NFC East is pretty bad.
Yeah.
It is just such a bad product right now. And people can be like, well, there's 4 or 5 undefeated teams. Well, yeah, because they're playing crappy teams week in, week out. This this year in the NFL is absolutely atrocious. I can't tell you. I cannot emphasize how bad it is this year. I don't even care at this point. The Giants have a chance to win the NFC East, and every time they get into the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. But
sure,
it is terrible to watch. There's so many bad teams. It's an unwatchable product this year.
Well, and look back at the NBA. Look at how many teams below 500 have gone into the playoffs. That's not while they've changed how the playoff format has worked. Nobody wants to see the Spurs and Warriors and Cavaliers just rattle off 50, 60 wins, and then you have these handful of teams that are below 500, but they still get a chance to squeak into the playoffs. And like you said, anything like we said earlier, we're talking about the AFC South. Anything can happen when you get into the postseason. But you want to see a balance of quality teams and quality opponents, and maybe that means cutting the 82 game season down to 60 or 70 games, changing things around, changing the format, getting rid of divisions, but like I said, Adam Silver is the one guy of the 4 top commissioners who is really being open minded and looking at how do we make our product fresh, how do we improve on our product when it starts to slip down in quality. And I don't think Roger Goodell is even thinking about that at all. As much as I talk about Bettman, Goodell's just done a terrible job as commissioner on all fronts, from just the PR nightmares with all these different criminal disputes and cases, to like we're saying now, just the London. I think they really need to scrap this whole London experiment. This is just terrible. You look at the whole game last week where the thing wasn't even on TV. It was streamed through Yahoo Sports. And they did a great job, but it's just if no one's gonna get up at 6:30 in the morning in Pacific time to watch Jacksonville Buffalo on the internet unless they've got some money on it. But the NFL, well, no, we're not going to have that, even though we're going to play in the city that, openly allows sports betting in the actual stadium in which the game is taking place and around it. But, so like I said, props to Adam Silver for being open-minded. The rest of the guys in the 4 major sports could learn to take some lessons from him.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some lines that caught our eyes this week in the NFL. Week 8 in the NFL, what caught your eye today as far as line go?
Well, the game we talked about earlier, the Miami-New England line. Like I said, I think now's the time to jump on in the New England. You got to play that at 8.5, because this thing's going to go up to 9. It's going to go up through 9 through 10. Probably close at 10.5. And in my opinion, I think we'll see a flood of New England money come in. As we talked about, it's a really tough spot for the Dolphins. Short week. Will the Campbell motivation keep rolling into this 3rd week of him as the head coach? Another game that kind of stuck out with me was the Minnesota-Chicago game. Line opened at 1. It's bounced around at Pick'em, but I'm seeing a lot of 1s, 1.5s favoring the Vikings on the road. The Bears have just been terrible, and there's been more behind-the-scenes stuff going on with Theo Ratliff was cut recently. There was some dispute of him showing up to practice at Hallis Hall under the influence of something, and he left and came back and threatened a couple of workers, and then so they ended up outright terminating his contract. We heard some wacky stories last year, late in the season, of guys disagreeing with Trestman and so forth. So it's kind of, and the irony of that was when we heard the stories about how the locker room was divided between then Bear Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler and so forth. It was the Bears were at home getting ready to play the Vikings. The Bears actually ended up coming out and winning that ball game, and they were 3-point underdogs in that game. So looking now, there's more issues, more concerns, and you got the Bears, pick them at home. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between these two teams. I think Minnesota obviously is the better team. They definitely have the better defense, but something definitely to look out for.
Yeah, something that, the St. Louis San Francisco line is interesting to me. 8.5 at home. St. Louis, San Francisco's been awful. An 8.5 point spread with a 39.5 total. Very interesting. So low scoring, assuming that this is going to be Kaepernick turning the ball over a bunch, which I assume. San Francisco scoring nothing at all, pretty much. I'm gonna leave that alone, but I thought it was funny to see St. Louis, but St. Louis plays well against divisional teams, so who knows what could happen there. The Houston Tennessee game, Houston favored by 4. I would have suspected this game would have been off. No line. I would have suspected this would be a no line because Houston's a mess just as much as Tennessee.
Well,
However,
most of the shops do have that. I do want to say that, to jump in right quick. Now, most of the shops do have that game off the board. Most of the bigger books do. I think 4.5 was more of like the, just kind of the sent out opener. I don't think we'll see anywhere be around that number. And I'm assuming the Mariota will be out again, so we should see a number come up probably around Thursday for that game. So, but 4.5 is kind of the barometer of the power ranking number that was sent out in that game. So I do want to clarify on that.
And then another one, Carolina, favored by 7 on Indy. I would. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of lines that do not intrigue me. There's nothing that really intrigues me. The Carolina Indy one, though, I think Indy is slowly going to implode and slowly start. I know they imploded against New Orleans, but they kind of recovered there at the end. I don't see them recovering if they get down against Carolina. Josh Norman, I think, has a big day against Luck. I think actually, the whole Carolina Panthers defense has a field day against the Indy inconsistent offense, and Frank Gore having trouble holding on, catching the ball and fumbling the ball. So I would say Carolina. I'd be inclined to pick Carolina to cover this spread, but I would prefer it to come down to like a 5.5 or 6.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's tough to bet. When you talk about that key number of 7, and if you look, there's some shops out in Vegas that have 6.5 up right now, but looking at the offshores, most of them have 7 with the juice going toward the underdog with the Colts there. And that, like I said, I agree with you on that game. If I had to play that Monday night game, I would definitely be leaning toward the Panthers in that spot. And the Colts will draw some money. So you could see this number come down. It's going to bounce around. So you definitely have to shop around with that game. But yeah, I'd be way more inclined to play that one, even buying it down to 6 or 6.5.
All right, college football. What has caught your eye as far as spreads, totals go this week?
Some interesting matchups. It's interesting. I can't remember ever seeing a Thursday night with 6 games on the rotation like that. That's unprecedented. I remember it used to just be the one Thursday night game, and it was usually a ACC school or maybe a MAC school. But now you got games all across the country. You got a couple of Sun Belt matchups. You got a Pac-12 game at night. So a lot of football to choose from on this Thursday night. One of the games that stuck out with me was North Carolina at Pittsburgh. I was really high on North Carolina early in the year. I actually I rarely play win totals, but I played North Carolina over 8 wins this season. They only need a couple more wins to get to that marker, but they're playing a really tough Pittsburgh defense. And the Panthers have come out and been a shockingly good team. They had a tough loss at Iowa, which now obviously looks like that's a better loss since Iowa's still undefeated. But they lose on a 57-yard field goal in that game. But Pittsburgh came back and won a big game a couple weeks ago, beating Georgia Tech on a long field goal. So, it's always good to back up, and they're getting 3 points at home. So you got a home underdog that's going to be fired up to play this game, national TV, and the better defense. So I might look at taking the points with Pittsburgh in that game. That's one that really did stick out with me.
You know what I really miss is the Friday night games in the Big East, with
Hmm.
when West Virginia and Louisville were good and South Florida was good, Rutgers,
Yeah, Syracuse
uh,
and
yeah, Syracuse, Pitt. I mean, those were always fun games, and it was like the next week always built off the previous one. Like it would be, West Virginia would beat Louisville, and then the next week it'd be Rutgers versus West Virginia. Like it was, they got lucky with how many consecutive weeks they had good games, and
sure.
that was the first time I remember betting. Like betting in high school, like with friends, was I would bet all those games. Pick Rutgers versus West Virginia or whoever. The
Sure.
first big bet I won was I think $30, Rutgers over Louisville, and so like I just missed that old Big East. I feel
Mhm.
like, were those teams really the best in college football? No, but they were fun to watch, and it was a fun time in college football. Now it's not as much fun. These Thursday, Friday night games. It's kind of gotten watered down. It used to be, yeah, Pac-12, ACC, Big 12 would kind of have a rotation every week, and then Friday would be Big East. I miss that time in college football. I feel like it's getting watered down when they put games on.
It is, and it's so strategically engineered. With the networks took the model from, like you said, of the Friday Big East games. They started doing, you've got we always see everybody jokes about Maction, the Mid American Conference playing on these Tuesday, Wednesday night slates or whatever, and it's nice to have those games isolated because those schools, they feed off of having that airtime and that exposure. Being the smaller conferences that a lot of people don't get a chance to watch on a Saturday, and when they do play, they get sandwiched and shuffled out of the Big Five schools, and you don't see them on TV that often. So it's nice to have certain spots where you have the exposure. But like I said, to have a bunch of games bulked, I mean, we got 6 on Thursday and then 4 on Friday. So it almost kind of it's nice because you have such huge cards on Saturday from a viewership perspective. And I get how the fans love it and the students love it. Being out on a Thursday, Friday night. Usually the kids get out of class early or so forth and get ready for the games. So I get it from that point. But from and even from a betting standpoint, I mean, it's nice to have these short week angles to work off of. There's a lot of trends to roll them around with those weekday games. But yeah, I'm more of a college football purist, and I like having just a few games during the week, but the bulk of the action needs to be on a Saturday.
Mhm. Um, all righty, best bets for the week. What do you got for your good bet this week?
My good bet. I just talked about it. Pittsburgh, North Carolina on Thursday night. I'm more than likely will be firing away on this game tomorrow. Pittsburgh catching 3 points at home. Like I said, really, really good defense. North Carolina's just kind of been up and down, even though they're winning games. They've won a couple of ugly contests, and Pittsburgh's a team that loves to play at a dogfight battle. It's a possibility you can see this game go up, through 3 to 3.5. I've just got seeing stable threes across the board, but I really like the Panthers in this situation. That's gonna be my good bet.
My good bet is going to be taking Oklahoma City to win the finals. 8-1 odds. Um, as long as they stay healthy, I actually would have preferred to take this a little earlier in the off season, but right now at 8-1, I would take that bet right now. Put a wager on that, a future bet on Oklahoma City to win the finals this year. Your better bet for this week.
My better bet, I'm gonna look at the NFL and look at the Arizona Cardinals Sunday. Land 4.5. I'm seeing most of them between 4.5, 5.5 right now. I think they'll stable out around 5. Playing against Cleveland, Arizona's just been this is the better ball club. I think they should be favored by a lot more than 5 in this spot. You got Carson Palmer and Fitzgerald and these guys that are just playing lights out. This is not a big game for them, obviously against the competition, but it's an important game for them to keep pace with the rest of that division. Like I said, we've seen how bad the Rams are kind of hanging around 3-3. Seattle and San Fran's falling off. So the Cardinals right now, in my opinion, they've got to really hang on and take grasp of this, move forward off that Monday night win against Baltimore. And launch themselves into a spot where they can contend not just to win the West, but to possibly be get a bye in the playoffs and put themselves in a better spot positionally. So I like the Cardinals to cover that number. I think I might jump on that now just in case we do see some Cardinal money. Cardinals have been drawing a lot of public money lately, so that thing could end up floating around to as high as 7 by Sunday. So Cardinals 4.5, 5.5, definitely worth laying the points.
Go crazy, folks. Hosmer continues the good luck for Mets against first baseman in the World Series. Hosmer just made an error. Mets scored, up 4-3 now. Go Mets, go. Okay, but my better bet for this week. Jeez. Again, I mean, just like last week, there's not. I'm just looking through here. I'm actually going to go better bet Purdue to cover 10.5 point spread against Nebraska. They're at home. Purdue is terrible, but Nebraska, I mean, you look at their games, whether it be Southern Miss, they let them back into the game at the end. I could see them letting a Purdue. The only game where they didn't let a team back in was Minnesota. I could see them letting Purdue back into a game. And who knows? Maybe they can't even blow them out, but I'm going to take Purdue to cover 10.5 point spread against Nebraska. And what's your best bet for this weekend?
Best bet of the week, I'm going to look at the same conference, Big Ten. Iowa playing Maryland. Iowa coming off of a bye week. They absolutely dismantled Northwestern 40-10 the week prior. Lost Jordan Canzeri, their top running back. This Watley kid comes in, ties Canzeri's record that he set earlier in the year with 4 rushing touchdowns in the game. Iowa's defense is just very solid, but they like to run the ball. They're playing a Maryland team that's going through some changes. They've got a new head coach. They like to run the ball. They're coming off of a very emotional loss. They played in Baltimore against Penn State, lost by 1 point. So we got 2 running teams playing, 2 tough defenses, a very tough defense in Iowa, and there's rain to be forecast in Iowa City this weekend. So I like the under in this game at 53.5. I'm playing this game tomorrow and sending this out to clients. This is my best bet of the week, and this will definitely be on my college card for the weekend.
My best bet is to not take the Philadelphia 76ers to win the NBA Finals. No. My best bet is going to be the Giants covering at New Orleans. New Orleans favored by 3. I'm going to say the Giants win this, money line, whatever you want to take. Take the Giants in this one. That's my best bet because, yes, New Orleans has played well back-to-back weeks. I am still not a believer in Drew Brees being, whether that I think that shoulder at some point is going to start to give out again. It's a matter of it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And Giants, I know New Orleans is tough at home, but this isn't, the Saints from 2, 3, 4 years ago where they were undefeated at home. They're going to lose. They're going to lose this game. I buy into the Giants on this game.
All right,
your thoughts on that one?
No, I agree with you. I'm like I said, Breeze he's getting older by the quarter that he plays. And the Giants have shown some spark and fight on defense. I look at that total of 49, and that looks a bit high. I don't see this game being a typical New Orleans shootout. So I would look at taking the points, but I would also look at playing that game under if it climbs up to as high as I've seen some 50s at a couple of shops. So if we see this thing go up 50 and a half, I might look at taking this thing under the total.
All right. Well, Alex, before we get out of here, do you want to tell everybody where we can find you? Twitter, the internets, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Find me on Twitter at AXSmithSports. Go to my website at axsmithsports.com. Last 4 days of the Pink October initiative. We've had an absolutely outstanding run in all sports. in hockey and football this month. Did have a losing night tonight in hockey, but still in double-digit profits over for the month. So I'll be making a sizable donation to the National Breast Cancer Foundation with the proceeds of my winnings, as well as sales from all of my different websites. We got a new website interface launching on November 1st, so definitely check that out, axsmithsports.com. Also at Sports Memo, Kelly in Vegas, Parkless Sports, and Vegas Insider. You can find me in any of those places as well. So, Bob, what you got coming up this weekend on your shows?
In Johnny Bobo show, we got Homer Bush coming on, Greg Renoff, an author of a book about Van Halen, one of my favorite bands. And then on Sunday, I'm going to have a recorded interview with Jameson Welsh of, I believe, the Hype NBA, and possibly Gerald Bourguet. Those two were supposed to be on last weekend. They bailed, so we're going to try it again this weekend. So that's the plan this week on the Bob Sullivan Show and Johnny Bobo Show. And again, if you want to check out any previous Box Seats episodes, come on to latenightsportsradio.com, Spreaker app. Check those out. And we'll see you again next Tuesday. Talk some more betting line, all that good stuff here on the Box Seats on latenightsportsradio.com.